at that position today. Oh, thank you. Oh, sure. Thank you very much. Also, a point of communication surrounding the minutes of April 11th, 2024, which were distributed to senators in advance of today's meeting. Poring over Robert's rules, it is actually true that we do not require a motion to introduce the minutes into consideration, nor is a vote on the minutes required. So moving forward, we're going to operate according to that standard. So we will, when we reach that point in the meeting, offer the opportunity to offer feedback or corrections to the minutes. At this point, are there any corrections to the minutes of April 11th as distributed? All right, thank you. Hearing no corrections, the motion or the minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Now turning to the Faculty Senate President's Report. I'd like to start the meeting today, given that we have a number of new senators, by taking the opportunity for the Executive Committee to introduce ourselves, for those of you who do not know us. I am Daniel Tyrone. I'll be Faculty Senate President for this year, and I am pleased to be accompanied by these individuals. They are a fantastic team upon whom I rely quite heavily, and I would not be able to do this job without them. And I'm excited for you to get to know them. So if we may start with Param Singh. Oh, microphone.
Sorry. For this year. Hi, my name is Param Singh. I'm a professor in physics and astronomy, and I'm vice president for this year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Osborne. I'm an associate professor at the School of Veterinary Medicine and Comparative Biomedical Sciences, and I'm your secretary for this year.
Hello, I'm Kyla Kazachuk. I'm an associate professor of costume technology in the School of Theater, the College of Music and Dramatic Arts, and I'm member at large this year.
Hi, I'm Ken Lapata. I'm a professor in chemistry, and I'm also a member at large.
Hi, I'm Inessa Bazayev. I'm professor of music theory at the School of Music, College of Music and Dramatic Arts, and I'm the past president.
Thank you, everyone. And I would also like to introduce Trisha Cobb, our absolutely fantastic coordinator, without whom none of this would be possible. Everything that goes right is due to Trisha. Everything that goes wrong, please blame me, because it's usually my fault. But we are very reliant on Trisha and very glad that she's a member of the team. I hope you've had enjoyable and productive summers and are ready for the beginning of a new academic year. I'm pleased to welcome those of you who are joining us for the first time to the Senate, and welcome back to those of you who were senators last year. I anticipate it's going to be an interesting year and look forward to working with each of you. I'd point out, having introduced the AFSEC members, that there is one remaining member-at-large position to be elected from our first-year senators at our September meeting. If this is your first year in the Senate and you are interested in joining the committee, please let us know. We'll also be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I regret to announce that we've lost a valued member of our LSU community and Faculty Senate. Dr. Yejun Wu of the School of Information Studies passed away in June following a long illness. An accomplished researcher and teacher, he was also a beloved colleague. In the words of one of his fellow faculty, he was a wonderful colleague, always willing and happy to lend a hand whenever one was needed. He cared deeply for his students, and he had a lovely sense of humor and the absurd, which resulted in a joyous laugh that would set us all off in faculty meetings. He will be greatly missed. The Faculty Senate Executive Committee sends our condolences to Dr. Wu's colleagues, students, friends, and family, and asks that you join us in a moment of silence as we reflect upon our loss. Thank you. We next turn our attention to notable developments from over the summer included in the President's report. For those of you that may have had the chance to read it already, don't despair. I've prepared an abridged version, since the original version is a bit longer than usual given the number of events to be covered. First, faculty and staff raises. As previously announced by President Tate, a 3% merit raise pool was provided for eligible faculty and staff for this year. One aspect of these raises, which I'd like to highlight, is that these are not funds which were appropriated by the legislature for the purpose. Rather, the raises are being provided from LSU self-generated funds and involve reallocations within the operating budget. This is a break from how raises have previously been provided, and I appreciate that the administration did what I believe was right in prioritizing faculty and staff, but not easy given the trade-offs involved. The fiscal year 2026 budgeting process. As part of the process of preparing for a potential state fiscal cliff in 2025, LSU is obligated to prepare a budget for submission to the Board of Regents that incorporates a possible decline of approximately 20% in state funding to higher education. Obviously, cuts on this scale would be tremendously damaging, and there will be much public discussion between the various bodies involved in the budgeting process between now and the next legislative session. One point to remember is that while LSU is required to produce a budget that reflects the possibility, there is no guarantee that it will eventually become the budget that is ultimately adopted. A lot can happen between now and June that could substantially alter the state's fiscal status, and it is impossible to predict how the situation will turn out. It is not our role to lobby the elected representatives in the legislature on specific policies or taxes, but it is important that every possible effort be made to avoid reductions in state support. We simply are not in a position to sustain further cuts without significant declines in performance. Furthermore, given that LSU returns nearly $13.85 in economic benefits to Louisiana for every dollar of state funding, we are one of the best investments the legislature can make. ORP TRSL letters. Earlier this month, the Teachers Retirement System of Louisiana, TRSL, began sending letters to eligible optional retirement plan or ORP participants, notifying them of their one-time option to elect back into TRSL's defined benefit plan. For most participants, the window to make this choice will close on June 30th, 2025. Human Resource Management will be making resources available to faculty and staff so they may better educate themselves on their options. Part of these efforts will include town hall meetings with representatives from HRM and TRSL and faculty and staff on September 4th and 5th. Details and registration links, along with other useful information, are included in the HRM broadcast email that went out yesterday. Please encourage your colleagues to whom this may apply to follow communications from HRM for further information and let them know that their time to make this election is limited. Student advocacy and accountability. Following recent changes in state law affecting how universities conduct student disciplinary processes and successful implementation of an informal resolution process for behavioral misconduct the last 2 years, Student Advocacy and Accountability, SAA, contacted the Faculty Senate Executive Committee earlier this summer to inquire about expanding this program to also include allegations of academic misconduct. After a series of discussions, it was jointly decided that this SAA would conduct a one-year pilot of the proposal and create a joint SAA faculty committee to oversee the process and make recommendations for improvement. Furthermore, the Faculty Senate will have the opportunity to review the report and recommendations of the committee and hold a vote in the spring semester on whether it is recommended that the program be continued. SAA emphasized that the principal change in allowing for informal resolution is that students found responsible for a violation would not receive notation on their transcript. There will be no changes to the academic penalties which SAA may levy as a result of finding a student responsible, such as a 0 on an assignment or assignment of a failing grade for a course. Additionally, students are only eligible for informal resolution one time, and SAA may escalate to another form of resolution if they determine that circumstances warrant a more formal process. If you or a colleague are interested in serving on the joint SAA faculty committee tasked with overseeing this process, please let us know by emailing facultysenate@lsu.edu. Changes to special meals. And for those of you that were here last year, you will notice we did not have the kind bars and the water out on the table greeting you as you arrived. It is because of the next item here. Due to changes in state policy, special meals may no longer be provided for brief, routine meetings using your university funds. I recommend that you contact your unit head or other responsible individual for further guidance on how to implement this change. Remote learning plan. The Office of Academic Affairs, in consultation with other stakeholders, has developed a remote learning plan to be implemented when conditions make holding in-person classes impossible. Please contact your unit head to obtain a copy of the most up-to-date version. As you contemplate the alternatives for remote instruction, please make sure that your plan is accessible for students requiring special accommodations. Senate committees. I thank everyone who responded to last week's broadcast email to express their willingness to serve on Senate committees. We do still have a number of positions to fill, so if you are able and willing to join a Senate committee or know of a colleague who may wish to do so, please reach out and let us know. Furthermore, we also need to provide a list of at least 3 tenured faculty members to the President's office for possible appointment to the Athletics Council. If you or your colleagues are interested in being considered, please let us know at your earliest opportunity. Additional details about the council may be found in PS 110. Orientations. Additionally, we are beginning preparations for our annual new senator and committee chair orientations. If you are a member of either group, please keep an eye out for a message from the Faculty Senate email account asking for your participation in the scheduling process. These events have been quite useful in the past, and I hope that everyone to whom they apply is able to attend. And finally, there is one person who I'd like to single out for personalized recognition of their contributions to the Senate and to the faculty at large. 2 years ago, Anessa assumed the presidency and took the opportunity to put her mark on the position. It certainly wasn't easy. Having worked closely with her during this time as VP, I know the challenges that she faced, particularly in the first semester when we lost our coordinator right before the semester began. However, she persevered, working tirelessly on behalf of faculty, grudgingly learning more parliamentary procedure than she ever wanted to, and setting a tremendous example that the rest of us can only hope to emulate. On behalf of the FSEC, I would like to present her with this token of our appreciation and ask that you join us in a round of applause. In closing, you are the Senate's greatest resource, and I thank you for your willingness to represent your colleagues in the shared governance of LSU A&M. Please continue keeping us informed about pressing issues on campus, and I ask that you assist us in making sure that your colleagues are made aware of important developments communicated through the Senate. We are stronger when we together represent the world-class faculty of our university. Thank you for your attention. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That allows us to continue on to our next item on the agenda, which is an address by Provost Roy Haggerty. Thank you, Provost Haggerty.
How's the sound? Is that okay? All right, thank you. Well, address sounds more formal than this will be. I thank you very much. Let me add my thanks to former president of the Faculty Senate, Anessa Bazayev. It has been a real pleasure to work with you these past 2 years. My first two at LSU. I know that we had a really good partnership, and I know that that will continue with President Tyrone. Thanks for the positive energy that you bring to everything you do. So I want to begin by I want to talk about some really good news. Some of it was given by your president already. The raises was one thing I was going to mention. That was it was really important, I have to say, to the president, to me, to those involved in the decision making, to give a raise. Or give is not really the right word, to provide a raise. And I think it was especially meaningful because we did it out of funds that were generated by all of the work that you all do. And I think that even made it more important in many ways. We're committed to doing everything we can to continue that. As you all know more than I know, we have a history of not providing raises in difficult years. Sometimes I'm sure that was inevitable, but we're going to do everything we can to continue the track record. I think we have 4 years of raises now in a row. I think so. And, I'd like to see that be a double digit. And so let's continue on with that. But again, the reason we were able to do the raises is because of the work that you've all done. And that nothing more important than that could be said here today. I'll give you just a few examples of this. Our sponsored program expenditures for FY24 were up 7%. Which is a significant increase that adds to the previous 2 years. Since I came, and it's your work, our research expenditures have risen by approximately 38%. And that's really 3 fiscal years. The first year was actually involved me going and directing and helping to make sure that we were simply counting things that we had already won and expended. We just weren't counting it as research expenditures. The growth after that, the 2 fiscal years that I've been here have been real growth in research expenditures. Our goal is to grow 6% per year. If we keep that up through the 2020s, we will catch back up to where we were prior to the Jindal years, and that will put us roughly in the top 50 research universities in terms of research expenditures. And I'll come back to that point in a few minutes. I want to mention, I was reviewing some of the successes over the past year to year and a half, and I want to note how many books have been published. It's really a pleasure to see books coming out of various different parts of the university, obviously both fiction and nonfiction. I want to call out two in particular. I noticed that one of your Faculty Senate executive members, Kyla Kazuchik, published Creating Costumes for Devised Theater. I think that was a 2023 publication. I'm not sure exactly when in 2023. And In and Out of This World, Material and Extraterrestrial Bodies in the Nation of Islam by Stephen Finley. And I sat with Stephen last year, and he explained to me the connection between the Nation of Islam and extraterrestrial things. And I thought that was fascinating. I had no idea about it. And if you want to find out about it, he has a whole book on it. Two major, and there may be others, but two major scholarship societies in, internationally important scholarship societies are going to be led by LSU faculty. The American Historical Society, which is Congress's only scholarship, like it's in statute in federal legislation, that this society, the AHA, come into existence, I don't know, 150 years ago or something like that. And that's going to be led by Professor Sue Marchand from history. And the other one that we just learned about a few days ago is the American Physical Society is going to be led by Gabby Gonzalez. And in both cases, they will become the chair-elect, and then, or excuse me, the president-elect, and then the president, and then the past president. And it's a real tremendous honor. Both societies have been led by AAU faculty, faculty from Association of American University members for many years. In the case of the American Physical Society, that includes a number of Nobel Prize winners, which of course Gabby shares as well because of her role in LIGO. So anyways, a very, very, very great honor to our faculty. And it just shows the excellence. It represents all of you very well that our faculty are leading such prestigious societies. Our freshman class is up. I mean, normally we're going, maybe by about the time I arrived, I think the rah of that was over, but it's up. We did not intend it to be up. But it does credit us very well. The reason it's up, we were targeting the same number of freshmen this year as last year, which is 7,400. It was 7,402 last year at census. It's going to be 7,800. And it has to do with the FOFSA debacle. From what we can tell, a lot of students chose the known of LSU rather than some unknown with FOFSA. Almost all of the growth is out of state, so it's not people from here in Louisiana who are adding to that. It's out of state increases. Although there's some reclassification of the students right now. It looks like about maybe a quarter of the students have some connection to Louisiana and have petitioned for residency. So you'll see numbers that look like something like 1/4, 3/4 out of state versus in state. These numbers are tentative; they won't be official until the census. So again, it's projected at this point. But it's not just the numbers of students that are up. Our student success is up. Our first year retention is projected to be up about 0.4% and to 85.6%. And I want to emphasize one thing about that. An increase of 0.4% is it's good. It's significant, and I don't mean it in the statistical sense, although it is that. It's very hard to achieve a 0.5 percentage point increase in student retention or graduation. These numbers are very, very difficult to move. And again, it points back to you. the students are very sensitive. In fact, we just got the results of a survey that was conducted, and the top reason that students leave LSU, there was a survey of students who had left, is some connection to mental health. And so, the care that faculty show to students obviously has a big impact on that. I credit this 0.4% increase to you, and so thank you very much. Our second and higher year retention, after I just said that 0.4 is hard to achieve, and this really, there's no other possible explanation to this other than faculty, because it's, they're beyond the university college and things of that nature. So the second and higher year retention is up 1.4%. That's amazing, 1.4%. So thank you all for everything you've done to care for your students. I know every single person here. I mean, I don't know it from observing it or having evidence of it, but I know the faculty here at LSU, and I know the care that you devote to your students. So thank you so much. So those are just some elements. We have set a goal for LSU to rise into the top 50, roughly concomitant with being invited to join the Association of American Universities. Whether or not we are ever invited to join that, I think, is less important. What is important is the metrics that the AAU has for this, I think, are excellent for a research university. The metrics that the AAU uses to measure the scholarly productivity of a university are 4. And to that, I'm going to add a 5th, which we're working on. There are 4 primary, and there are secondary, and then there are tertiary as well. It's citations of articles, it's books. I referenced a couple here. It's research expenditures, and it's prestigious faculty awards. By the way, at some point, we'll have to have Dr. Laura Choate come and talk to you all. We've hired Dr. Laura Choate in the Office of Academic Affairs, and her job is to help faculty and units put forward nominees from LSU for prestigious, well, just for awards, period. Dr. Choate reports to Jane Cassidy, and her job is to promote the work that you all do and to help provide recognition for the excellence that you all bring to LSU. Beyond those 4 primary metrics are our postdoctoral fellows who are here at LSU, PhD graduates, and then tertiary metrics. And it's not priority 1, 2, and 3. It just has to do with the difficulty of measuring some of these things. The tertiary metrics have to do with undergraduate achievement. So we do have this goal, and you'll hear about it in increasing measure from myself, from the president, from deans and department chairs. And the reason I think this is so valuable is because it brings the focus back to scholarship here at LSU. We've always been about scholarship here, but it really allows us to really set this as a clear-eyed goal. The next thing that I want to talk about, there are 2 other items I want to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about is a proposal that we're working on, and the Faculty Senate executive has been briefed on it, but at this point it's at the level of a permanent memorandum, which is system-wide, so it doesn't involve so much here at LSU A&M yet. But when it gets to the level of a policy statement that governs our policies, we'll certainly be involving the Faculty Senate to a greater extent. But we'd like to introduce at the system level the possibility for each campus to have a professor of instruction. And a professor of instruction would sort of come alongside our professor of research position, which we've had for many years. And there are 5 reasons that I think that this is necessary, at least as a possibility for each campus. No campus has to have it, but we would like to make it possible for campuses to choose to have it. Not all campuses in the system will choose to have it. First of all, it recognizes the importance of teaching in the same way that we recognize the importance of research. The professor of instruction would only be available to those with terminal degrees. And of course, it would come with expectations and a promotion pathway that is similar to professor of research. It would be a non-tenured position, similar to the professor of research, but with specialization in teaching. I believe that with that will come greater ability to recruit excellent faculty who are experts in teaching, and therefore, an easier time for all of us to recruit the best in teaching, which, for the reasons I've already mentioned today, will generate further student success. It aligns us with other peer institutions. Many AAU institutions have a similar teaching rank for professors. Some call it a lecturer or a lecturer rather than a professor, but it's roughly similar to this. And it supports our institutional mission by introducing a teaching-focused faculty class that reinforces LSU's commitment to its core mission of education. The last item that I want to mention prior to taking questions is a matter involving tenure for faculty in the library. We did a survey of all AAU institutions, 100% of the AAU institutions, and there are 69 in the United States and 2 in Canada. Only 79% of our aspirational peers have tenure. Excuse me, only 21%, 79% do not have a tenure track in the library. Only 21% do. We're going to no longer hire into the tenure track in the library. Those who are on the tenure track or tenured in the library are very, very welcome to retain that tenure track or the tenure. So there's no change to existing employees unless those employees choose so. But for new hires, we'll no longer offer a tenure track, which brings us into alignment with the majority of our peers. This has nothing to do whatsoever, in fact, except in one way, which I'll mention in a moment, with tenure for faculty generally at LSU. What this does, and the reason that I want to do this is, in fact, to strengthen tenure for faculty. Tenure at LSU should be reserved, as it is in most universities, for employees who have a significant teaching and scholarship responsibility. That is what tenure is for. And librarians may incidentally do some teaching. Most librarians have a 15% scholarship expectation, but which is a very modest expectation compared to the rest of our tenure track faculty. It just doesn't line up with tenure for teaching and research. And so I'm sure there'll be Q&A, so I'll have opportunities to expound upon that. We value our librarians tremendously, just like our peers value the library tremendously. It's so important to have access to excellent information, to have those resources always so easily available, and even when they're not available at our fingertips, the library provides access to information as expeditiously as they possibly can. The value of that doesn't diminish whatsoever. The library faculty themselves will be involved in recommendations on how to move librarians in terms of those who want to move from a tenure track to a non-tenure track. Why would you do that? Well, one of the reasons is we hear about it every single year. Librarians call the Office of Academic Affairs and say, how am I supposed to put my package together? I don't do teaching and my scholarship is really small. I do all these other things. What am I supposed to do about that? Those who wish to move off the tenure track or give up tenure will be offered 3-year contracts. And those responsibilities will no longer be in existence, and we'll have a system where all of us are evaluated for tenure on exactly the same basis. Again, no changes whatsoever for any other discipline, nor will I countenance changes for tenure for any other discipline at LSU. And again, this strengthens tenure and the concept of tenure at LSU. It brings greater integrity to it. And I've asked for a proposal from the faculty that'll be hopefully available by mid-semester on the mechanisms on which to do this. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain a few questions, and I guess I'll leave it to you, Dan, to decide how much time we want to do this before we adjourn for other matters.
Sure. We have let the caterer know that we were targeting sort of 4:15 for the beginning of the reception, and we do have one more presentation after this. So we have some time for Q&A, and as we approach 4 o'clock, if we're still going on, then we may want to progress to the next presentation. As we enter Q&A, just a reminder, all faculty are eligible to participate in the discussions in the Senate. Others are available to ask questions or participate in discussion with the acknowledgement of the chair. And also, please do wait for the microphone before asking your question. It's less about being heard in the meeting than being recorded on the recording that we're taking for posterity. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for coming, Roy. My name is Mike Rousseau. I represent the library. In terms of the change in tenure for librarians, those of us who are tenured and those of us who are on the tenured track, which now seems to be a track to nowhere, we're brought into service here with the inducement that we could get tenure, and that has kept a lot of us here for years. And now that is being taken away. You said that there is going to be no change in tenure status for other faculty. And that is apparently a pledge that you're making. Well, we in the library came on with the similar pledge, and now that pledge has been broken. So what can you tell the faculty that you're promising no changes for, that are going to convince them that this pledge that you've made is immutable?
Well, I disagree with the premise of your question. You said that the pledge has been broken. Your tenure remains. Those who are on the tenure track now remain. And so there is no change to current employees unless those employees choose so. And so there is no change, okay? Secondly, my most important job is as a guardian of standards for scholarship and teaching at LSU. And a really important part of that is the tenure process. It is simply an unavoidable truth that librarians have a different job. And we owe it to ourselves as the faculty of LSU to uphold the integrity of that tenure process and reserve it for research and teaching.
The tenure process has been in place for decades, but now it's not.
Well, I think I've answered the question. Is there another question back here?
Yes, hi, Janine Grodetsky, School of Kinesiology. If you could clarify, when you mentioned professor of instruction,
Yes.
how is that different from a professor, a full professor of professional practices? And if you couldn't mind addressing what's happening with the professional practice, the lines of raise and promotion, how that happened last year. Thank you.
Right, sure. Actually, I think I see that Senior Vice Provost Jane Cassidy is here, and she is best positioned to answer that question. If I might direct it to her, I can give an answer, but SVP Cassidy will be able to do the best job of that.
Sure. So at this point, we are working on the PM, which is the system-wide one, which doesn't offer real specifics on things. There will be a difference in the job description between the two. We won't have, you can't have two title series with the same job description. I would imagine, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but I would imagine the professor of professional practice are people who come from industry, come from education, who have significant experience in the profession for which they will be teaching. assistant associate full professors of instruction might be people who have a few years of teaching outside of graduate school. I'm thinking, let's say in English. And they have a PhD in English and they have a little bit of teaching experience. And could move into that series where they're not really industry oriented, if you know what I mean. It gives us much greater latitude for hiring people into a promotable series than just the professional practice, but there will be a difference between the job descriptions between the two.
Thanks.
To continue on that question, in mathematics, there's postdocs where, you know, you get a PhD in mathematics and then you do a postdoc in instruct kind of practice or in teaching. So are you saying that you would be looking from that pool for hiring into this kind of position? That's my question.
I'm not sure if I heard the question.
Oh, yeah.
That's Snag. I'm not sure if I heard the question fully.
So I'm Scott Baldridge in math. But and there's actual postdocs, not here at LSU, but at other universities that are kind of postdocs in teaching.
We do have a few here as well. But anyways, continue on.
But with the main emphasis being teaching, not
right,
not I'm talking about math. Mm-hmm. And yeah, here at LSU math, but elsewhere. So is this the kind of pool of people that you're maybe looking to pull from to you know,
certainly
build the ranks of
certainly that, but our requirement would be probably a terminal degree, so PhD and there are other terminal degrees that aren't PhD. So postdoc even better, but that's the kind of thing. Definitely. What we want to do with it is elevate the teaching. It's already very good here at LSU, but I think it recognizes it with an appropriate title for those who want to make their profession in teaching.
And as you obtain, I'm sorry, but as you obtain the floor, please do identify yourself with your name and your affiliation with the university. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicolette Davis, and I'm a librarian. And I wanted to say a couple of things and then ask a question. You mentioned publishing books and research and scholarship. All of these things are things that librarians have done to earn tenure. We publish books, we get national recognition, we publish scholarship. And it feels a little bit divisive when you say that by not doing tenure for librarians anymore, that it's increasing tenure. It's making it more, I guess, noteworthy. And I think that's false because we do all of the things that you mentioned that the other faculty do. My second point, and this leads to a question, is that in the history of LSU libraries, there's only been one tenured person of color. There is currently one person of color on tenure track, and that's me. And my concern is that we are ending a legacy of one of the highest recognitions in academia for academic libraries. Could you provide some advice or some insight on that, and how that is possibly going to affect the diversity of the library and recruitment and retention of the library?
Well, it'll simply be an opinion, and that is, I don't think it will affect the diversity of the library in any way, or at least it shouldn't. As I mentioned, 79% of our aspirational peers do not have tenure in the library, and it's for the reasons that I've mentioned. It's just a different job. Yes, librarians do scholarship. Yes, librarians do write books, but it's more incidental to most librarians' jobs than the task of running the library and making sure there's access to high quality information. Just like I'm in the Department of Geoscience or Geology and Geophysics. We don't have a requirement that we do extension. Does a geologist ever do extension? Yeah, I've done a little extension here or there, but it's not the main part of my job, nor would I expect to get tenure based on that. And so again, as a tenure track person, you're welcome to choose to remain on that track. It's up to you. And the question is whether you want to retain the responsibility for research. If you do, then you're welcome to retain that in that position.
And I'll just say, I think of LSU as a trailblazer and a leader. And I know the AAU universities, that's like the standard, but I really see LSU as a leader and a trailblazer. And I wish that this wasn't the case. I wish that there was something else that we could do to be leaders in this aspect as far as tenure for librarians. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we probably do have time for one more question before we need to proceed to our next presentation. Is there one more question for the provost? Okay. Seeing no more questions, thank you, Provost Haggerty, for your comments today. And our next and final piece of business for this afternoon is going to be a presentation on the Faculty Technology Survey update by Jackie Bach, Jim Murphy, and Param Singh.
Oh, hi, good afternoon, everyone. So this is an update on Faculty Educational Technology Survey. We presented an update to you in the late spring. And we would like to update you on some of the things which we did in the summer. We distilled more data to understand like what was actually going on. And so today I'm like really honored to be joined by Jackie Bach, Vice Provost, Jim Murphy, who is Provost Fellow, and Craig Woolley is actually traveling right now. He tried a lot to reschedule his flight and so on so that he can be here, but the Chief Information Officer couldn't make it. So what I'll do is I'll start with the first part of the talk, and then Jim Murphy will take the second part of the talk, and Jackie Bach will conclude with the talk. And I have to mention like how Jim Murphy actually entered the team. So in March or somewhat like early April, we really had a huge response from the survey, like something which we never expected. We used all kind of tricks and bribery, as you know. And I would also like to request everyone, like whomsoever contributed to the survey, and if you have not collected your gifts, they are still there. So please come forward and collect those gifts. Some of them are really nice. So we really had a huge amount of data, and we didn't know like how to go forward, how to distill. And this was not the task which Jackie, me, and Craig had actually signed up for. And we were always trying to become more and more ambitious in the process. And then Jackie very nicely, she identified Jim as someone who can help us. And I'm really super grateful to Jim. And I expressed this thanks to him that he has probably worked harder than three of us worked. So he really deserved to be on the team fully, and he'll be presenting forward. So let's go ahead. So this was a brief introduction of where the survey was. So just for the new senators also, like the survey window was from February 5th to February 23rd. We got a huge response, 658 faculty, they responded out of roughly like 1,400 where it was sent. 399 like also signed up for the drawings and so on. And there were like 3 grand prizes, and one of them was won by our own senator, Carmela Matza, who is here. And then there were focus groups which people signed for, and 153 faculty members signed for the focus groups. The focus groups did not took place in the previous semester, in the spring semester. And we thought like we should do that in the summer when everyone has probably more time to think about when the classes have stopped and so on. And then we had 4 focus groups in the summer in which Jim contributed extensively, and 36 faculty members signed up for that. And we had extensive discussions with these 36 faculty members, and that was extremely useful for us to really understand what the survey was trying to tell. So survey focused on 4 touch points. The first one was a learning management system, basically whether we want Moodle, whether we are happy with Moodle, or should we shift to something else. Then the classroom technology and software, faculty tech support, and then generative AI. So I'll only talk about the first topic, and then Jim will talk about the second and the third. So the learning management system, or the Moodle, the main result was this, that 72% of the survey respondents identified as the frequent Moodle users, and just 51% of the respondents said that they are either quite satisfied or very satisfied or satisfied with Moodle. I apologize that in spring we gave you this number as 54%, but like thanks to Jim's like accurate data analysis, we have to reduce that figure to 51%. So I think like it's really a touch and go for the Moodle versus non-Moodle, and it will become clear like as if there are any questions and so on. But a lot of things which came forward also through the service was that when we examine this data, that there are lots of subtleties and nuances. A lot of younger faculty tend to prefer Canvas or something going beyond Moodle, and senior faculty tend to prefer Moodle. Almost everyone recognizes gradebook issues when they are complaining about Moodle, or the video streaming issues. And they also complained about inadequate remote proctoring, or inadequate or the non-availability of lockdown browsers and IT support and so on concerned to the Moodle. So I think it's a very close call. Like, do we keep Moodle or we do not keep Moodle? And we also feel that some of this percentage is probably like the resistance to change, or inertia, which most of us experience with going to the new software and so on. Okay, so the focus group really helped understand various concerns. And one of the concerns why we want to stick with Moodle, even if the Moodle has various deficiencies, which some of the faculty members noted, was the challenge and time which is needed to go to a new LMS. And this is where ITS has been extremely supportive, and Chief Information Officer has assured us, and he even assured the faculty when they were participating in the focus group, that ITS will do its best, that if we want to switch to a new learning management system, then the transition would be as painless as it can be. It will only be a matter of few hours, or there will be training days, or there will be boot camps and so on, which we can organize. So we think that the question was not raised in a proper way. Like if we feel that if the question was that, do you want to switch from Moodle? If we give you all the support to switch to a new platform, that I think the percentage would have been much lower to support Moodle. The migration or rebuilding of the course content and how much the support will be there. Like I already addressed this, that ITS is again very eager to help on this. Like there were concerns that if I have everything set up on Moodle, how easy will it be on the Canvas, or whether it will be easy enough to set up on Canvas or something else and so on. So I particularly feel that many of these concerns which were raised in focus groups, they can be addressed through the support of ITS. But at some point, we'll have to decide, even at the level of the Senate or Office of Academic Affairs and ITS, do we want to go forward beyond Moodle or not? Now I will switch on to Jim.
Thank you all. We move on to classroom technology and software. Truly, our classrooms are the front line of learning. Survey helped us understand that though we do have a fair number of classrooms that are very state of the art, we do have those that need work on them. I guess now is as good a time as any to put that point in there where the university has classrooms that are university controlled. And what that means is the registrar is able to slot any class into those rooms. And then we have those rooms that are actually department owned or college owned, which are kind of separate away from university control. Some of the disparity that we're seeing in classrooms is because of that distinction. And well, we're working forward to try and solve that. Yeah, that's what we said there. Next. Survey revealed the following areas that faculty are very interested in seeing enhancements. So upgraded presentation devices, projectors, smartboards, the ability for our students to be able to share what they have on their screen with the rest of the class, additional power outlets in the room. That one probably will be challenging. Presentation and capture equipment, camera, microphone, and the ability to record sessions for those that aren't available in the room at the time. ITS is actually currently in the process of upgrading rooms, and some of you may know that from your own facilities, and that's a process that's continuing to move on this year and beyond. Sorry. Survey versus groups alerted the concern about the process and time. Yeah, so now we're on to software and how we get the products that we need to utilize on our technology. And this is a challenge, right? So if we need it in the classroom, we need it when we're going to be there. We're working on how we can better communicate, right? What our needs are in the classroom and how we can get that loaded up in time. There are various challenges that come into play here, and we have to pay attention to security issues that we have on campus with our computing technology. Another was lavalier microphones, because there are a number of faculty that are interested in the ability to be able to move about the room when they're teaching, become more impactful with their students. And then challenges that we have with projectors and then adapters for the various laptops that come into the room. Faculty tech support. There was an overwhelming amount of faculty, 79%, that think it's important for all faculty to have an ongoing recycle refresh of computing technology for themselves. It's important to do this, to also be compliant with our ever-changing IT policies. And the cost for this 5-year cycle is fairly insignificant when compared to the overall budget of the university. Faculty pedagogy training, 67% said they want that, would want that. 60% keeping up with new tech in their discipline. One-to-one walk-in support was really highly regarded as necessary or to be enhanced. And where am I lost already? After hours, classroom support, consistent method of contact in classrooms. So for those faculty who are teaching after the 4:30, when a lot of our IT support is gone, and their ability to be able to support it when they have needs in the moment. Is this still me? Yeah. Great, me. All right, themes continued. So want further enhancements in the Grok information that's put out there to help guide us through challenges we may have. Challenges that we have with Ag Center and A&M dual appointed faculty and their ability to work with technology, cross-platforming. Storage for faculty. Enhancing the Wi-Fi, which is interesting because another side note that we had is there are a number of faculty that are also interested in how can we cut Wi-Fi during classroom time so that we can maintain focus on the work of the day. And then last year, admin rights and installing for faculty to have the ability to bring thinking of my words, programming onto their own devices. Thank you. I think it's you.
That's all right. First of all, I want to thank you guys again. Whoever made the suggestion about holding focus groups, that was wonderful. I think we learned a lot this summer, definitely by interacting with the 36 people who showed up in the summer to share their thoughts with us. The last section was on generative AI. As you know, and you're probably experiencing, it's a really, hot button issue right now in our classes. And our faculty in this survey and the focus groups wanted to know a little bit about, what areas would this be most useful in, how we can facilitate collaboration regarding generative AI, and then what our particular faculty IT needs are. Depending on your discipline, it might determine the ways in which you might incorporate it into your curriculum. However, I hope this has changed, but this was last spring. You'll see the majority of people did not see a need to incorporate generative AI in their classrooms. Some of the concerns that came out during our focus group and in the survey definitely is how AI could lead to a decline in critical thinking and writing, how it can make teaching more impersonal, and then really the ethical implications with its use. I used ChatGPT with my students this summer, and a lot of them really had ethical concerns about using it in my class. So we had a really useful conversation about what that might mean for them as students. So there's a need, there was a call for ethics course, an honor system, and better detection tools. I will say that we are bringing in, thanks to Campus Federal, a speaker in January to our annual colloquium who is going to discuss generative AI and teaching. And she has this wonderful card game that she kind of, teaches in her professional development. So if you're interested in this topic, please come to the colloquium in January. So our next steps, as we shared with you last spring, is that we're going to present final recommendations later this semester that will come from the survey and the things that we've learned from them. We're going to, before then, however, sort of summarize our findings on a website. So if you're curious, you can go see a little bit about the other 30 answers that were on the survey. And then Faculty IT Committee and ITS will continue to explore solutions. I mean, I can tell you right now, OAA, if you listed a classroom that you had a concern with, we sent those lists out to your colleges, so they're aware of some of the classrooms that you have issues with. So I just want to thank you again for this partnership and hope you will find our recommendations useful. Are there any?
Yes. Let me first thank you. I think this is very interesting. Question one, in your learning management systems, when you're doing these surveys, do you have any input or a feedback from students that are using material from Moodle or Canvas? What do they prefer? Learning is very student-centric activity, right? Professors can decide whatever I want, Blackboard, I want this, right? And that's why inertia is, right? Why should I change? But it's the students, because the generation keeps changing pretty fast. I think they will drive us and give us the reason why we should change. That's just something to think about if you didn't account for.
Yeah, so certainly the survey was not sent to students, only to the faculty members. Yeah. But some of the faculty, when we looked at the survey responses, some of the faculty members were answering questions based on their experiences with students, like what do students think about certain systems and so on. But it is also a fact that we are the only university in SEC which has Moodle. And I don't think like there are any other higher education institutions in Louisiana which have Moodle. So I think your point is extremely well taken. We have, probably we should be doing a similar survey to take the student feedback at some stage.
It's comparative, right? I think when you're talking about faculty going for Moodle, I would be surprised if they've tried anything else.
I completely agree.
There you go. So I think it's a bias comes on this thing. Says I will always keep driving an internal combustion engine car because I've never driven Tesla. Sure. Right? So yeah, that's another interesting point. It is more of a tongue-in-cheek comment. Is we're talking about classroom technologies, and I'm teaching a machine learning class in Turo Hall. How many people have actually been to Turo Hall and seen the classroom technology there? It's mind-boggling that we are even having this discussion on talking about classroom technology, where I had to describe everything with the piece of chalk on a board. You still have on the panels that have VCRs forward and other things. There is no VCR. I'm not going to bring a tape there. So I think we got to really have to have a ground truth check. What are we talking about? So if we are really going to have these classroom technologies, let's do something that is functional. I don't know. It's just kind of bringing to your notice. It's good to have these surveys. It's nice to have these goals, but I don't know. And then about the use of GAI, I think the best way to do it is even if we are skeptic, to use as a project in a class. How worse can that be? Like people can, I think it will be ethics. So make it a question about how to address the ethics issues over there. I'm giving you a very simple example. I also serve as a faculty advisor for a cultural organization. Gen AI, I would be criticizing people for turning that thing as a report, but for having a welcome address to a student, I had to make like a 15-minute speech. I could do that in ChatGPT with 1 minute. But the thing is, I'm not going to go speak that speech over there. I introduce what I wanted to do, and the rest of the speech was just a filler. So it can actually help. It's not really, if you can keep from instructor's perspective that there are so many wrongs about it, not much progress can be made. I think some of people feel like that students will cheat. How do we increase their performance? I think that could be one way of looking at it, is how Gen AI can help.
Absolutely. And if you haven't checked out the stories about our provost class that he's teaching for the third time on
he did.
generative AI, please look into the work that he's doing. It really goes beyond just feeding questions in a chat.
Yeah, we need to copy one of his project in my class.
Other questions?
Right. Well, thank you very much to our presenters. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to buttonhole Param in the reception after the meeting. The provost has given me the high sign that there was one more point he wanted to make. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules and return to the portion of the agenda for the address by Provost Haggerty, if anyone would be so inclined to make that motion. So moved. Is there a second? Second. All right, second. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye. Thank you. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Provost Haggerty, you have the floor.
I've never gotten a unanimous vote on anything. Yeah, in fact, that was a really nice segue, although I remembered there was one item I wanted to mention prior to that. We're developing Mike GPT for LSU, and it's being done by students who are in the class, in fact, and formerly in the class. So we're going to have a version of basically, it's if some of you probably have the free version of Chat GPT, it's 4.0 mini, and it's based on 4.0 mini, but it's trained on LSU data. It's trained on 16,000 web pages at LSU out of a total of 300,000, which is when we stopped counting. So it's trained on a large range of data. It is in a walled garden on Azure, so it's secure, so we won't have the data security problems we have. And I'm looking for beta testers. You're beta testing, right? Okay, so if you're interested in beta testing Mike GPT, send an email to provost@lsu.edu, and we'll add you to the list of beta testers. That will launch maybe sometime next week or the week after. It's coming pretty fast. It's going to be trained. I'm not sure if it'll be initially done, but it will be coming. It'll have some specialized kind of drop-down modules. That'll be fine-tuned for certain tasks like syllabus development. Generate a syllabus on a topic. It'll have all the boilerplate LSU stuff in it. Boom, you're done. 1 minute. There's less than that, actually. It'll have other specialized things like that as well. It's initially going to be available to faculty and staff only. And then, once we've worked out the kinks, the bugs, the problems, and the inevitable challenges, we'll release a version of it to students as well. So thanks.
It's kind of related, unrelated. I'm handling admissions for graduate admissions, mostly online. People get really nervous if they think the LOI, the letter of intent, was AI generated. We don't have a stance on that, right? I know it's kind of a weird question, but in terms of admittance and AI, is there a position from LSU?
Well, I'm not sure if we have one, Jackie. I don't think so, but we would expect our students in applying to follow the code of conduct.
Okay. Yeah. It's just tricky. It's like,
yeah, we could look at developing that. It's probably, there's inevitably a lot of policy that is going to need to be developed.
Well, thank you, Provost Haggerty, for that. We are shockingly on time with our anticipated end date or end time of 4:15. Before we do break, just again, a couple reminders. We are still in need of faculty to serve on our Senate committees. Our chairs are champing at the bit to get their committees up and running and particularly get meetings scheduled for this year. So if, again, you or a colleague are willing to serve, please do contact us. We'll put you in touch with Louay Mohammed of our Committee on Committees, who is assisting us in making those committee appointments. Our next Faculty Senate meeting is going to be Thursday, September 19th, once again at this room, beginning at 3 p.m. And I would ask that you join us for the reception, which is going to occur right outside in the atrium. And again, our thanks to Provost Haggerty, Office of Academic Affairs, Emily Hatfield, and Tricia for making this possible. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? A motion, is there a second? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you outside.